Hello, I'm BC Kagan, and this is Taking Tea with Monsters, the podcast about my photographing. Not about my photographs. Well, they're included, but it's really about my experiences photographing, being a photographer. Um, but I'm starting out, oh, sorry, also very important that that Taking Tea with Monsters includes a couple of people, one who does not want to be identified, but the one who is going to be identified is Arthur Johnson of the
Hello.
band Come, and way formerly of the band Barbecue Killers.
This band.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I was going to ask you, how is it doing?
We sold out, but
Oh,
there weren't that
really?
many
Wow.
copies. Yeah.
Wow. How many?
Oh,
How
I
many
don't know,
copies?
150, 200 copies, maybe.
Oh,
I
I
don't
thought
know.
I thought you gave me a number and then said them.
Hmm.
Good. Uh,
But um, but what is this podcast about?
I don't, was I going to
Oh, we
tell you?
did talk about that. Yeah, you did. You'd already said photography. I was thinking you were going
Yeah.
to say something about taking tea with about us, shameless distortion, but
Uh, not, not right now. Now I'm going to tell you the story about the jacket that I'm wearing. Well, I'm telling you about, actually about my whole outfit. I have a T-shirt on, which is for the mystery member of our team, because like
mm-hmm.
me, he is a Star Trek fan. Oh, maybe he didn't want me to tell people that. Anyway, but the jacket that I am wearing is a brand new item. I'm pretty excited about it. It is a vegan Levi's motorcycle jacket. Yep. And
Wow.
and how I came to purchase it is that I think this makes me sound pretty sad, but I do sleep with the television on all the time. And I am a giant Scooby-Doo fan. I mean, I am a big cartoon fan. Um, but Scooby-Doo is one of the cartoons that I really like. And I had a dream that, and I'm not going to tell you who these people are because you really should know. I was going to say, if you're an American, you should know, but honestly, I mean, people know all over the world who the Scooby Gang are. So in my
Sure.
dream, Daphne and Fred were selling me a fuzzy pink motorcycle jacket. And I was like, I don't really know that I can afford this. I'm not sure I should buy it. And Fred was being very insistent that he was really doing a sales job on me. And I was like,
That
oh,
Fred.
yeah, I know. And so when I woke up, this is me as a girl and a shopper. I'm sure a lot of, I was going to say women will understand, but I think guys will too. That I went right to eBay and saw what was available in the line of hot pink fuzzy motorcycle jackets, and if one actually would appeal to me, if there was anything that was available that I could, that I would want to purchase. Maybe Fred was right. I found some, but nothing that was like the one in my dream. Nothing really appealed to me. And a lot of times, what I do now is I go to Amazon because sometimes you be surprised at what's on Amazon that can be not, it can be off the traditional kind of path. And so these Levi's motorcycle jacket showed up, and the green one really, it does come in a few colors, but this green one really did appeal to me. And it took me a few days to buy it. And I'm happy to say that while those days were passing, the jacket was getting cheaper.
Oh,
So
always good to wait.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, so that's the story. It's Fred's fault.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you'd think you'd think Daphne would have been the harder sell, but it was really Fred who was pushing me on the jacket. So today, having nothing to do with motorcycle jackets, although I think I can tie in just about anything.
Sure.
We're going to talk about something that happened to me as a photographer in Boston. I'm going to say early 80s. I don't really have a date for this. Maybe 81, 82. I don't remember who it was exactly, but somebody said to me, I was working as the photo editor for Boston Rock Magazine. This is when it was owned by Newbury Comics.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, oh, this made me coughing. And I feel like it was somebody at like a editorial meeting or something, but someone said, oh, you know, his friend told me about this thing and you should really check it out. He says there's like skateboarders out at this municipal swimming pool in Cambridge. It's right off the Alewife stop, and you could go and take a look at it.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow it seemed like a good idea to go and do that. And again, I think Barry was with me through this. Yeah, it probably would help to have the dates of my relationship with Barry, who I would love to have him come on and, you know, I probably have to talk him into it, but we are
Mm-hmm.
talking.
Mm-hmm.
I especially wanted him to talk about the Bill Murray thing because he was the one that heard the plate. He heard the plate fall. But anyway, so Barry and I went out to the swimming pool, and to this day, I have to say, I really can't find the words to describe what I was looking at, except very clearly it was unlike anything I'd ever seen before. And I don't think, you know, this is Boston, so we're talking about the East Coast. It's early 80s. You know, skateboarding is more still, I think, considered to be a West Coast thing. I know it's really hard, but it wasn't, you know, it wasn't like it is now. And so I wasn't that familiar with skateboarding. The municipal pool at the Alewife stop is huge. I'm trying in my mind to think of like how I could describe it. There's like, I think there's like a pool area, and then it kind of goes around. So there's a big area in the back that probably is a shallow area. And there, once in a while, somebody would say, oh yeah, I was actually in that pool when there was water in it. It does get used as a municipal pool sometimes, but probably the cost of maintaining the pool that size is really very pricey.
So at this time, was it that it was closed semi-permanently, or just for it was out of season, do you think?
It wasn't really out of season. I mean, it was a
Mm.
little bit out of season. It wasn't really
Mm-hmm.
summer yet, but it was late spring, and it never had water in it that whole summer. So I don't really know officially what the deal was. I didn't know if it was ever going to be used as a pool again. I am going to hold up this picture. Don't be fooled. It doesn't indicate anything yet, except that I realize that this picture kind of is,
Oh, that
it's the picture that I have of the Alewife pool.
wow, that
See,
is a deep, deep end.
yes, he's in the pool, he's in the bowl of the pool, but you can also see how huge this thing is,
Yeah.
because on this side, there's like more pool.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Wow.
so yeah, so it's just, and the sound of the wheels, of the skateboard wheels on that particular, I don't know what they use in pools. Is that concrete? I don't know, whatever that material is, that's pool material, that sound and everything, it's just like, it was like being on the surface of like some odd planet. It was very, very different, and the light, because there's no obstruction to the light, and it was kind of getting into the summer, I think, so there was a lot of
And
light.
they're in a big white bowl, so I imagine it's just
It was
reflecting the
blue,
light even
actually.
more.
It's
Oh,
like a
huh.
baby blue.
Hmm.
Here's another thing, is that a lot of the photographs that I do have of this, everything in this story, are color. And this is a thing that people may or may not know, but I'm happy to say it so that people do understand that at that time, and for many years before, if you worked professionally in photography, when you shot color, you were shooting color chrome, what people now sometimes know as slides. So, those little cardboard frames that have a picture in them. And what chrome film is unlike a negative, the film that runs through your camera that you're exposing, when it gets developed, it actually transitions into a positive. And so you're actually looking at the film that went through the camera when you're looking at a slide. And I am saying that because a lot of the color that I shot throughout my career is in chrome form. It is harder to make prints of. I think it's probably easier now, but I'm kind of a little slow on, I did maybe a month or so ago bought a scanner that can scan chromes, but I haven't tried to use it yet. I have no idea how to use it. But I think this will motivate me, because I'd like to be able to show people all of the pictures that are associated with the story that I'm about to tell, or I'm in the middle of telling. So this whole event of going out there and shooting, I don't even know if that picture I showed might have been from the first day, but it was overwhelming, and I was very, very excited. And I went back and spoke to a woman. I think I mentioned her to you or somebody, a woman who was writing for Boston Rock at the time. Her name, and I hope she doesn't mind, because I'm just going to go for it. Her name is Julie Panebianco. Did I mention Julie Panebianco to you? So Julie Panebianco is, she's a music writer. I think she's still writing. I don't really know what else she's doing. But I approached her and said, there's this really cool thing going on, and I think it'd be great if you and I went out there. I think I was developing this whole scenario. We go out there, we write a story about this thing that is seemingly really unique. And the idea was to sell the story to The Face, the British magazine called The Face.
Huh.
Yes, you're thinking. Are you thinking, and you're thinking, you know it?
I know that all my old copies of music magazines from the late 70s, early 80s, I'm pretty sure there was a few issues of The Face in there. Yeah. Why? So are you about to explain why The Face?
Oh, it was just considered a very cool British magazine. And it was not just a music magazine. They, seemed to do some kind of lifestyle stuff. And it's
Had
funny
you done
because,
work for them?
no, I had never done anything. This was going to be my big pitch. You know, I really don't think they worked with Americans that much. And I mean, people would have to go back. I mean, coincidentally, but in a kind of BC Kagan coincidence, just yesterday, one of my followers posted a post about the face online yesterday.
Hmm.
So I ended up
Hmm.
having a little discussion with him about that. Yeah, a lot of people really liked it. It was, we were pretty excited by it, and the layout and the style and the articles and stuff. So yeah, it seemed like, oh, that would be really great to get something into the face, and this seemed like it would appeal to them. And I have to tell you, this sounds really crazy, but Barry and I made a trip. The only time I've ever gone across the pond uh, was we made a trip to England. Uh, one of the things we did was we went to Bristol and saw Elvis Costello, which was somewhat excessive because he had just played at the Orpheum, which was around the corner from where we lived. But rather than go around the corner from where we lived, we decided to go all the way to England and see him in Bristol. Um, but part of this trip was my going to the face and I think pitching this story, because I know I pitched it to them in person. And I'm laughing because when we went to England, I never had a passport before. And I will admit, now it's like retro cool, but then it really wasn't all that cool. And I had a very serious mullet going on at the time. And I will tell you that because I'm so naive about traveling, that's
This mullet?
no, that's not a mullet.
That's not a mullet.
No, no.
Oh, that's kind of mulletish. It's long in the back, pretty short on the sides and the front.
It's the way it's styled in that. I'm not looking at it,
Okay.
but no, this was really,
Okay.
and sorry, to add insult to whatever. I had a rat tail also.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm just saying all this to say that at some point, I actually threw my passport away because of my passport picture. I did not know that I hated that picture of me so much that I threw my passport away. I didn't know that, having a passport is a really good thing and I should just get the picture changed. I was not successful. I think it might have been the rat tail or the mullet or the combination of the two. I did not seem to impress anybody with my Americanness at the face offices.
Did you have an appointment when you went to meet with someone?
Yes, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have just shown up. That's
I'm impressed you were able. I mean, this is obviously pre-internet, pre-cell phone. I'm impressed you were able to work that out, get an set up a
I've
meet.
been working for a while, which is, and that maybe they recognize that. I had been an NME and maybe Melody Maker too. I don't know if that was before this, but could have been Trouser Press. I think the English were aware of Trouser Press.
Oh, sure. I'm sure they were. Yeah.
Uh, so I don't know. Yeah, I had kind of forgotten about this because it was, you know, not a good experience for me. It was pretty clear to me they weren't impressed by me or my idea. And also at that time, which kind of annoyed me, that they only seemed to be interested in Black culture from the West Coast. That's what they thought was cool in America at that time. So pasty white boys from New England on skateboards did not fit into that.
They've got plenty of pasty white people in old England, so yeah, I can imagine they were. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
so when you went to England to pitch this, I'm not sure if you're telling it out of order. You had already gone and observed them, obviously, at the park. Had you already started taking photos?
Yes, I've been taking photos. And you're right, I am kind of telling it out of order because what happened with Julie and me was that I don't know how this got narrowed down, but we had like these three, what do they call that in a archaeological, sociological study? We had three informants who were working with us.
Hmm. 3 subjects?
Subjects, yeah. And, we first met them out at the pool, but then Julie, the idea was that she was going to spend some time with them and write. The story was going to be about these guys. It was kind of like a lifestyle. That was what the pitch was. It was a lifestyle story. It wasn't a sports story. And so she was going to spend some time with these very kind of colorful characters, and God knows they were. And then I spent some time with them. Yeah, I left out big chunks of this story. Sorry. The three guys who we narrowed it down to, or they narrowed it down to, also came to my studio and did a studio shoot with me in the studio. So the three guys were Tony, and sorry, Tony and Jake, sorry, I'm trying to remember, and Larry. And Larry was actually in a band called Kill Slug. So I think that
Oh yeah,
Larry,
I remember that band.
yeah, oh, there you go. I think Larry was also referred to as Kill Slug. Maybe the band was named after him. It's such a charming name. So yeah.
Well, I think it's with 1 L, so maybe that modifies somehow the.
Yes, it is 1L. You're
I mean,
correct.
I'm sorry, 1 L before the S, kill with 1 L, and then another one after the S. Sorry. So,
Yes.
never mind.
Yeah. No.
Can I ask, when you first went out there, how many skaters were at the park, were skating around this pool? Like dozens?
Well, if we look at this picture again,
Oh, that one you showed. Yeah, you can see a few there.
yeah, I'm seeing about 6 or 7. It would vary, people went off and had lunch,
Hmm.
and then came back and stuff. Some days were more crowded than other days.
Hmm.
Um, so I was not around for Julie's day with these boys, so I don't know about. I mean, I don't think you could spend time with them without it being eventful. What happened to me was that they came into the studio uh, with spray paint, um, and they sprayed up my studio to the extent of, this is why I really need to get to this color and somehow convert the chromes into prints that can be looked at. Yeah, they sprayed up things so much that my lenses were covered with the spray paint, so I had to send out my cameras to be cleaned and stuff. Yeah, it was expensive
Oh, that could be cleaned off though. Wow. That could be
professionally.
cleaned off the lenses. Wow. Yeah, I bet that was expensive.
It was. I didn't want them to do, but you couldn't really control them. That studio,
Rambunctious
yeah,
youths.
that that studio that I'm sorry, I'm gonna readjust myself in the chair. That studio that I had was too small to contain these boys.
Hmm.
But I was very happy with the pictures, and hopefully you will be too. So I'm hoping to show that we have a picture that we're going to put up on the screen.
Okay. Oh, you don't want to show the ones that you have first?
I showed one of them. I'd like to show
Why
the
don't you
one.
Oh, sure. Here
Yeah,
it is.
yeah, because this is one of the guys. This is
Hmm.
Tony, who is not with us on this plane anymore. I think he died kind of young. And this is not at the pool. This is at, Boston. For skaters in Boston, there are sites that, have been chosen for their
Hmm.
skateability. This is a sculpture that's in the government center area.
Yeah, I was trying to think of where I've seen it. It's a big metal sculpture, right?
Yeah, it's called the Metals. I mean, by the skateboarders, it's called the Metals. I don't know what the sculptor
Hmm.
called it. And I think this parking structure has just recently been taken down. But anyway,
Hmm.
that's Tony skating off the Metals. You can, I really like this photograph. This is not, I've kind of, it's a little bit, I've come closer into him because you kind of have to look to see that he's actually come off of the sculpture, and
Sure.
he's got
You know
air.
what's uncanny? That could, not that I was much of a skateboarder, but that could be me at like 16. That looks just like me, like between 16 and 19.
Floating in the middle of the air with a skateboard
Yeah.
attached to your feet.
Not many photos, but just his garb, his haircut,
Oh yeah,
everything,
yeah.
his build. Yeah. The
I don't,
socks.
I don't know how old Tony was. He had a very, which you can see in the studio pictures and not in this one. He had a shock of white hair in the front, which was not a affectation, if I may say. It was because he had been hit in the head. I
Oh,
don't know through his skating or if it had happened when he was a kid, but
wow.
yeah, he had a white, like a little white thing in the front. Okay, so that's Tony. And I don't actually, I have pictures of Kill Slug or Larry. I have really a very nice picture that I like, also a very large print, but I don't have it here.
Hmm.
But the uh, Jake, who was the third guy, eventually became the editor of Thrasher. He's kind of
Oh, wow.
yeah, he's a famous skateboarder, also not with us anymore. He died a couple of years ago. And when he died,
Hmm.
I this skateboard, which is him as a zombie, he
Hmm.
was involved in this. So he was
Oh,
still
cool.
alive when this was made. Um, and after he died, I went online. This is a repeating theme. My response to things is to go online and see if there's something I can buy that will help me to cope.
Hmm. I think that's called e-tail therapy.
Yes, exactly.
Hmm.
I don't really know what pocket pistol skates means.
Maybe it's
Uh,
a skateboard company
it could be I've never heard of a company. It
or
could have been a
store.
shop. Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
maybe a store.
Thrasher Radio. I don't know if that was a real thing, but yeah.
Hmm.
So this is Jake. And so those were the three that we did the story about. And the other picture I have is actually not one of the um, subjects, but this is another case where, again, I don't remember who, but somebody came and said, oh, you know, so-and-so has a ramp built. Their parents allowed them to build a ramp out in some suburb. I guess the parents had land near their home. And I was like, okay. I mean, it surprises me because I don't go places now, but apparently I went
Hmm.
places then. So yeah, this is the you know, for me,
Was
skating has really, you know, changed a lot and become, you know, it isn't just associated with the West Coast. But when I took this picture to see boys skating in an area where there were bare trees, you know,
Mhm.
that was obviously a winterscape. I do have some, I don't know if it's from the same place where there's snow on the ground. Yeah, well, that was not happening.
Do you
That was,
remember what town that would have been in? I mean, was that not in Cambridge or Boston, I'm assuming.
no, it was more like Dedham or Braintree kind of thing.
Hmm. Hmm.
I mean, pretty nice that his parents, it was a, I guess
That's a big
that,
ramp.
yeah. Is that a half shell?
A big,
Oh,
1.5 meter pipe. 1.5 meter. 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 1
It was great.
I'll say yes. I'm not up on my skateboarding terminology, so.
So that's all the pictures that we have for today. Yeah, sorry. So anyway, so I was really excited about what Julie and I had done. And when the face was not as excited, we decided that we were just going to do a blast of, I was in a situation where I could do a lot of duplicates of my slides.
Mhm.
So we sent out a bunch of copies of Julie's story with a bunch of slide sheets to different magazines, trying to see if somebody would bite. We'd already done this work, and I'm going to say, I guess I really thought that the face would go for it, but they didn't. And we decided not to waste what we had done. And so yeah, because, and this eventually became a problem, even though the story idea was mine, Julie was the writer, and so she was the one that got contacted, and we did hear back from a magazine, which surprised the hell out of everybody. It was Penthouse. The Penthouse magazine called us and they wanted to publish the story.
Some of that sweet Guccione money.
Yeah, which I got very little of, because what happened was
Oh,
they
it really
bought,
happened.
oh yeah,
That really happened?
calm down.
I'm so excited.
Yes, so was I. Until, we get to the end of the story. Well, not the end of the story, but the next parts. So what happened was, is that, again, because Julie wrote the story, they bought the story from her. And as typical with photographers, I would have been paid for my photographs as they published them. So whatever they had picked out, I would get published for them. And even though this made no sense to me at all, but it's Penthouse and it's a man's magazine for men, by men, even though the story was about these three guys, the magazine started to make noises to me about that they wanted more like sports photographs of the skating. And at
Hmm.
that time, and I guess probably even still to this day, what that meant was like the people that risked their cameras in their faces and actually put themselves down at the rim of a pool to let guys
Mhm.
come right up to them. And I wasn't interested in that. I'm never interested in doing anything that might endanger me. And not especially because the pictures don't, that's not what I wanted to do. I was very happy
The
with what I did.
the photos that you were including that you as part of the proposal for the story, were they not just the studio shots though of the skaters?
Mostly the studio shots.
Oh, okay. So what about that photo you showed, the first one you showed? That is sort of an action shot of that skater up in the air, I thought.
Yeah, I don't know that but they were looking for like the real kind of extreme, this is the 80s, and they were looking for like those fisheye thing where the
Mm,
skateboards right in the, yeah,
mhm.
I don't think, because even should I put it up again? Like this is a little bit,
Yeah,
you know,
that's a good shot.
thank you. I think
I
so
mean,
too.
that
But
seems
I think it
it's got a
has,
lot of action in it. Yeah.
but more context than they wanted. They were
Oh.
looking for, pictures that look scary because, look dangerous for the person who was skating and the person who took the
Hmm.
picture.
Hmm.
If they could have added sharks, Arthur, I think they would have.
Well, it improves every photo.
Yeah. So this was very disappointing for me. I started to get the feeling that, I wasn't interested in doing that kind of work, and they had already bought the story from Julie. She had the money, and I think someone at the magazine, I guess she was torn. It kind of affected our relationship because they said to her, look, if it was, my idea, then traditionally what would happen is that she would give me like 10% of what she had gotten as this person who had the idea. And that's not what I wanted. It wasn't even, I mean, of course the money would have been nice, but I wanted to get these pictures published. And once she sold the story to them, it was theirs. And so now this story about these guys is sold, and now I have these pictures of these guys. It really was very disappointing. But what happened was, and here comes the celebrity. What happened was that this, and you guys were probably too young to realize what was happening or even be aware of this, I don't think. But this sale of this story happened right at the time that that Penthouse.
Spin Magazine.
Huh?
I
Go
always
ahead.
thought you were going to mention Spin Magazine.
No, it was
Hmm.
when Penthouse had been given pictures by a photographer of Vanessa Williams. Do you know about
Oh, I
this?
remember that. Yeah, this was right
Yeah.
after she was Miss America or Miss
Yes,
USA or something.
exactly.
Hmm.
So our story, or the story that Julie sold them, got pushed back. I mean, I don't know what they were even thinking about doing in terms of the photographs, because I mean, maybe they would have come to me for some of them, but the story wasn't being published because the Vanessa Williams things happened. And then, of course, it got expanded because the next 3 issues of Penthouse were about the Vanessa Williams pictures. And yeah, I think that just killed the story eventually, and
So, oh, so it never did run.
it never ran. No. Um, I have spoken to Julie, and maybe she'll see this, and I can point it out to her. I don't know if she legally can sell the story again, because she did accept money for it. She did sell it to Penthouse, but yeah, I think it's really a shame, especially now because you know, Jake died a couple of years ago, which I think was very hard on people. He's a nut. I will say
Hmm.
that. Uh, uh, yeah. And these boys were fearless, and
Mhm.
he,
I'm interested that I don't know if you kept in touch with them, but you kept track of them, I guess, after that.
well, being the editor of Thrasher is a big thing, and this was like, probably the golden years of Thrasher.
Hmm.
Because this is, as skateboarding is starting to become, when when I was out at the Alewife pool, the idea of Olympic skateboarding,
Hmm.
that I'm laughing because, yeah, just a ridiculous concept. That was just not going to be something that was ever going to happen. People didn't
Hmm.
even look at it as a sport. Oh, I have this recollection. I used to use a lab in the south end of Boston called Master Color Lab. That's where they ran my slides, processed my slides. And I remember I was walking away from Master Color, and it's, kind of in a deserted area, or was then, I don't know now. But another photographer who I really didn't know, I mean, barely knew, um, yelled out to me, uh, why are you wasting your time with skateboarders? Which this is early 80s. This guy doesn't really even know me. yelling to
Yeah.
this, like, obviously something about what I'm doing is threatening you. Why are you
Mhm.
even saying that to me? And I will admit that it did, do at least in part what he intended it to do. It made me think, oh, am I doing something wrong? Is this not, me being a serious photographer? And I do think of that guy every time the Olympics happen.
Hmm.
And I think, oh, yeah, you're probably kicking yourself because it wasn't you wasting your time on skateboarders. And I do have to say that, yeah, I have some sports that I really like, and skateboarding. I love skateboarding. I mean, am, I, I have often had a board. This one was just for decoration,
Yeah,
and
no
her
wheels,
one's for
no
Jake.
trucks. Sorry.
No, there's no trucks, although they can be put on. But I really
Mhm.
got this to hang. Uh, but I'm really too scared. I mean, I could ride down the sidewalk, but couldn't do curbs, and yeah,
Mhm.
I'm a chicken. But I love it. I love to watch it, and I thought it was a great sport. To be honest, one of the things that kind of, turned me off to skateboarding, um, and I don't know that things are much better now, even with Olympic skateboarding, but the fact that the boys are very, they're not really welcoming of women in
Mm.
skateboarding.
It's
Uh,
interesting because I think the women's competition at the Olympics and the skateboarding is fantastic. I think the women who compete at those are amazing. So
yes.
yeah,
And the men are sorry you feel that way.
some of them are maybe.
Um, no, I'm sure it's got to be better, but in Boston, at that time, it wasn't, there were no girls out at the pool. The only
Hmm.
girlfriends to watch, there was nobody skating in the pool. And I will tell you that
Hmm.
in the late 90s, early 2000s, I went to an event that was about it was like a book event about a guy who was a skateboarder, and written a book, and he um, so the event was pretty well attended. It was in a restaurant, and at some point at the end, I raised my hand and I told this story about what happened with Penthouse buying the pictures and stuff. And I remember in this room that was mostly guys, everybody who was on the panel, because it was a panel discussion, everybody on the panel was a guy, and most of the audience were guys. And I said something about, women, why there weren't more women. And, their answer is because the women aren't as good as we are. They weren't even, trying
Hmm.
to hide that that's how they felt about it. So, and that's,
Right.
yeah, that's 2000s in New
Hmm.
York. So it wasn't
Hmm.
just the 80s in Boston.
Hmm.
And I really don't know how much better it's gotten. Um, and yes, that does kind of turn you off to a sport. Uh, I understood, I don't know if that still happens, but I understood that there was a group of girls that would skate around Washington Square Park. And I thought about going to kind of connect with them, but I never did. Um, so how are we doing?
We've reached a good stopping point, I think.
Oh, you always think that. Um, so I just, I'm sorry, I'm going over my mind about the Vanessa Williams part, because what a ridiculous thing to happen to her.
Hmm.
It's just like it's
Hmm.
another, you know, thing. And um, I don't know if I've talked yet too much about my theater job. Have I talked? Because I know on my Instagram account I've talked about it, but um, I there There was a phase that one of the companies that I worked for, theater companies, big Broadway theater company, that they were doing this customer service thing and a whole kind of, I don't know, policy change, the training and stuff. And part of this training was that now when you worked at the theater, everybody who worked at the theater was your coworker. So if you were working front of house as a ticket taker or an usher or, whatever you were doing, you were coworkers with the stars of the show. So with that in mind, I will tell you that Vanessa Williams and I were coworkers at a
Oh.
show called The Trip to Bountiful. She was in The Trip to Bountiful with Cuba Gooding and a very famous actress who was very, very senior-y, whose name I'm forgetting right now, which is really embarrassing. But I was happy to be at that show with her because I thought, yeah, she gets definitely, I think Vanessa Williams, I don't know what her life is like, but she gets the last laugh because, yeah, I think
She went on
people,
to have a career. Yeah.
yeah, she did
Yeah.
okay. So I took my clothes off. Big whoop. And
We've all been there.
yeah, almost daily, some people.
Mhm.
So anyway, yeah. So I guess that does kind of wrap up the skateboarding story. And I don't know how I will go about showing people the pictures. I'd love to have the story published somewhere.
You think you might share? Well, you've shared at least one of them on your Instagram, I think, right? One of the photos you showed today.
Yes, I've shared pictures, and I have had, people comment and say, oh, that's so-and-so. And that's, that was at the back of so-and-so's. I think people know where this ramp is and stuff.
Oh, cool.
But not the color. The color is really,
Yeah, I'd love to see those sometime.
yeah, I'm gonna even say, even though I was pretty upset at the time, I think it was worth it having to have my equipment cleaned. It's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
And
Uh-oh, my light went out. That might be a good time to oh, there we go.
yeah,
Well, want to point people to the Instagram account and the book,
book and yeah,
Shameless Distortion, available through Shameless Distortion is the
.com.
website, I think. Right? Yeah.
Yes, shamelessdistortion.com and Amazon, also trouserpressbooks.com. And some,
Shameless.
oh, what?
I was just gonna
Well,
mention Shameless Distortion, the Instagram page.
the Instagram account, which definitely should go and take a look at. And listen and like. We're supposed to remind people to like things. Like the podcasts. Follow me on Instagram. And sometime soon, I'm hoping to finally get to ask Arthur the questions that I really want to ask him about his tour
I'll have to start my own podcast.
on the other side of the world. But that wouldn't stop me from asking you questions, would it? No.
Well, no, I'll start another podcast where I'm the focus and you ask me questions or I tell you my
Well,
stories.
all right.
Yeah.
That'd be good exercise for me, I think, asking questions. Okay. So thank you all for your kind indulgence. And
Until we meet again.
yeah, sorry, I was actually looking at my Star Trek shirt. Yeah. Say goodbye to William. Yes, thank you. And yes, keep an eye out for future stories. We'll probably be going back to talking about rock bands soon.
Everybody
And
likes that.
yeah, I've heard people like that. Okay. Thank you, Arthur, and the man behind the curtain. Bye.
Bye, BC.